Hey guys and girls, Bored Now back with you. On this video I will be talking about the 5th episode of the 2nd season of HBO's Euphoria. The episode is called Standstill Like a Hummingbird. Sorry, I said Berg. So this one is named after a book. I know because when I went scrolling for images for the thumbnail and for this video, I came across the book, so that's where they got it from. And this one is a completely Rue-centric episode, although she does come across other characters along the way on her journey. And in some regards, this feels very much like a continuing sort of film type thing that just follows her, but very strong episode, I'll say that from the start. I mean, having said that last week's was probably the weakest episode of this season, and probably of the whole show, and that I was starting to lose faith in the show. This episode actually wins me back, I think, because of how dramatic it is, how powerful it is, how realistic and heartbreaking it is, and because of the quality of the acting. Obviously Sedana holds it all together in the lead, but it's a really strong episode with one or two complaints. It's not perfect, but it is the strongest episode so far this season. I do have concerns that it will go back to the normal melodrama, lame bullshit next week. But for 1 week at least, I'm sort of back in on the show. But it sort of follows her when she finds out that her mother knows about her drug taking again. And the opening scene, I'll say that the opening 15-20 minutes of the episode especially is just a standout, and it's so unsettling, so powerful, and just a real gut punch of a scene because of some of the raw stuff that comes out, and just how much you feel for Rule's family, because that's one of the things about addiction, is that it is often the family who suffers the most. So the scene plays out that she demands, or Rule believes, that the sister has told her mum about the drugs, when it turns out it's actually Jules. The mother tells her later. But the opening of the episode, you see things from Jill, the sister's point of view. That actress doing a really great job, by the way. So it's actually terrifying seeing her expressions reacting to stuff going on in the other room, and just how scared she is. So that's a great choice to open the episode, and Rule bursts in, and at one point it gets really physical where she actually hits her and the mum gives her a slap back. But the mother does say in the end that it's Jules who told me, and so they've gotten rid of the drugs. So you get this really frantic scene of Rule trying to find her drugs, and it's back and forth, just screaming at them, "Where have you hid my drugs?" or whatever. And of course the knock-on effect is then it's not her drugs, of course, it's the drugs she was going to use for the drug deal to get the money, which she then owes Glory, I think her name is, the character she set up this deal with. So it's a really powerful scene, and one of the highlights of the scenes is her actually trying to break the door down to get to them, because she wants to know where her drugs is. She's just like a loose cannon at this point, and just the physicality of her, slowly smashing the door in. It's the fact that it's this build up, and it's a slow sort of smash down the door type scene that actually adds to the intensity and sort of how realistic it is, and it's sort of great direction. Then there's discipline, that it sort of stays on the scene and the characters, and it sort of goes with the flow of it rather than just cutting around things. But one of the twists I sort of like about this scene and about this episode is then, rather than go down some of the more cliche or obvious routes, they actually have this idea of her friends and family staging an intervention. So one thing that like tips Rule over the edge is when it's revealed then Jules is actually in the house, like she's in the other room with Elliot, and that sets her off even further. But it's revealed that they're doing an intervention, and so I thought that was quite a nice little turn and a good idea and a good way to like work them into the drama, because obviously this is such a Rule centric episode, but it's like a logical way to work the characters in. And she of course goes off on Elliot and on Jules. She makes some points about Elliot being a junkie himself that they've gotten high together, and she's like just all over him, basically saying, you know, he's a hypocrite and stuff. And then she really, obviously Jules gets the worst end of it, because she's just not thinking straight, that being Rule, and just wants to hurt her. And the rage that Sedana gets across in these scenes are so good, but she says just some terrible, horrible things, and the camera is like pinned on Jules' face as she's saying it. So things like, you know, saying things like you're a vampire and you're doing this all for yourself, and I've made some terrible mistakes in my life, but the worst of them was like meeting you, getting to know you, and it's just horrifying. And things build to this place where she has a breakdown, and she actually agrees to go to the hospital, and they've been trying to talk her into rehab. And you know, when they're in the car, there's this thing where she just loses control again. There's also another like hard to watch scene where the sister comes across a shotgun. You know, just her sister seeing that is pretty traumatic just to think about it. So she then loses it in the car because she finds out they're taking her to rehab, and it all breaks down. And again, there's some good directing choices in that scene because it's from the outside of the car, and I think because we're trying to listen in, trying to hear what they're saying and stuff, it actually adds a bit more tension to that scene. So it's after that when she storms out, runs out, you know, out of the car and runs down the street, then it actually becomes almost like a chase type movie for like this one episode where she's going between places. And I think it's just the drama of her having limited options in her mind and where that potentially leads her. You know, if she doesn't get to see this person, or if she doesn't feel she can talk to another person, where's it going to lead her? So I think you're very much on the edge with Rule in this episode, where one bad decision or one twist of fate could potentially put her in a very serious situation. So she tries Fez first because in her mind she wants to get drugs to make this deal so that she can give the money to Glory. He's not there, so she then goes to Lexi, and Lexi again, always very supportive, but Rule is lying to her. Of course, she's gone there to try and steal something so she can like raise money, and it's at this point we get the second intervention of the episode, and we actually see Lexi's mother, because they've been having the party for Maddie, so they actually like come in, and there's some interesting stuff with the mother, Susie I think her name is, who we haven't seen that much of, and it's quite hard to read her because some of the way she's talking to Rule seems quite condescending, but I sort of left the episode thinking that she was like well intentioned and stuff, and I think it appears as though she's the one who probably killed Rule's mother, because when Rule makes an excuse and goes to the bathroom, she like whispers to Lexi she's not in a good way, and you then get the reveal of when she comes out of the bathroom that they're all there again. The mother, the daughter, her sister, Lexi's there, but everyone else. So like Cassie's there. You've also got Maddie, Kat, I should say. And what I like about this scene is then there is this sense of family amongst them. This sense that they're all there for Rule sort of thing, even though she hasn't always been that close to some of them. Like, you don't really see her hanging out with Maddie very much, but they're all sort of there. Now, obviously, it's maybe just a coincidence that it's at that house, so maybe they've all been, they happen to be there, so it's more like they're just standing there because it's their house, but it certainly plays out as, that they're part of the intervention. So I quite like that about it. And again, it works those characters in. Now, this scene does get a bit soapy, and it's probably the part of the episode I like the least, because Rule decides, again, very bitter, very, obviously wanting to cause trouble from like a twisted place. So she actually decides to reveal to Maddie about Cassie seeing Nate. She because Cassie's quite nice at one point, and is supported for Rule, but Rule just sort of throws it in her face, kind of says, well, so Cassie, how long have you been fucking Nate, fucking your best friend's boyfriend, sort of thing. And so this is where they work the melodrama in a bit, and the forced sort of soap plot. In a way, I don't mind it too much, just because you knew then that secret was going to get back to Maddie at some point. So this is as good a way as any, I guess. But it does lead to some melodrama with obviously Cassie and with Maddie. Maddie like goes off at her and is like really nasty, and obviously in some ways she has a right to be, but I'm just saying it's very sort of blunt and very in your face, and corner sort of all these names, and it gets very over the top. So it's probably my least favourite part of the episode, but you again sort of see the true nature, I think, of Lexi. The fact that Lexi and the mother, Susie, is like telling them to get out, sort of thing. If you're not part of this, if you're not here for Rule, then get out. So it sort of maybe says then the mother is quite good natured, is a decent person, and obviously Lexi, very solid as always. This is not about this little melodrama, it's about getting Rule help, and obviously her mum and that is saying the same thing. But so it's a good scene overall, but obviously that little subplot where it got a bit soapy was not to my liking, really. But Rule runs off again, and you get this whole sequence, which is maybe the most unrealistic scene of the episode, where she's like chased by cops at some point, and it's through gardens and stuff. And I think it's meant to be heightened because it's very much in her head. She's panicking, she's probably high on something, so it's quite sort of stylized, and you've got some rap going on. But it was exciting to watch. And she sort of goes to Fez, but like he kicks her out, and she ends up at the one place the last sort of resort, which is Glory's place. And Glory's actually a really good character, I think. I think she's one of the characters they've introduced this season who I like a lot, just because the actress is good, but also because she's not your stereotypical sort of, hard nut, shouting a lot, being aggressive type, drug dealer, sort of drug baron type thing. I think she has a bit more of a manipulative, sophisticated sort of way of going about things. So, and I think she manages to be quite scary without, resorting to being too physical or shouting. It's that sort of calm delivery which actually makes her quite scary, and she's quite a hard person to read. Is she on the level? Is she not? So she obviously finds out that Rule doesn't have her money, and she can see that Rule is, very high and out of control, and she sort of, I'm going to assume, fake sort of sympathy. I think at the end of the day she just wants to get her money. But yeah, she sort of, takes her in, and she's playing on the fact that Rule wants some painkillers for her pain, sort of thing, and she's sort of teasing her with it, and she's acting a bit like a mother figure, saying, I will support you, don't worry, come in, settle down, and I'll be here for you. But she does also say at one point that she wants her money, and she says, well, you don't really look like a person who's gonna come up with this money for me. But as I said, she's like manipulating things with the whole painkiller relief type thing, and saying, sadly I don't really have what you want. I don't really have something suitable, and she teases, and the only thing she has is this sort of needle type thing, and that for someone in Rule state is probably going to be wrong, but it would relieve the pain. And I think she's just playing head games, and you get this sort of sequence where she's putting Rule into the shower, and again, very good direction, because the direction is on this needle all the time, and Rule is just so desperate, so she pleads with her to give her the shot of this thing, and of course that plays into Glory's hand, because she eventually does give her the shot, and it's whatever it is, it's quite a strong thing. And it knocks Rule out, so she's then at her mercy. Now, I'm not quite sure what Glory's plan is. She mentions at one point to Rule that it's one good thing about being a woman. You can still you still have something to offer to make money, even if you don't have the drugs. So she's obviously suggesting you could maybe pimp your body out. You could turn trips to be it. So she's almost, that's definitely a comment on the lack of options for women, sort of thing. So I don't know if she intended to force Rule into maybe doing that to get the money. But what happens is then Rule wakes up, and she's in bed, but she sees that the window has been locked, so padded locked, so she can't get out. She goes downstairs. Now there's clearly meant to be a guy guarding the place to make sure she doesn't escape. He's got a gun, but he's actually unconscious on the couch. But the door is padlocked, so she goes to get a key. There's also a bird, a budgie in the cage, so that's obviously to add a bit more tension, because if she reacts to Rule. But it's again a very tense scene, and I wasn't quite sure why Rule didn't get out, because she gets the key at one point. I don't know if it was the wrong key or if she just got too nervous, because at one point the guy starts coming around and turning on the sofa, sort of thing. So she then heads through this bedroom, and there's this other guy, so I'm assuming they're maybe doing it in shifts, and he's asleep, so he then Rule goes through the bedroom and slowly creaks, and she's got to unlock the sort of window and go out the window, but again he starts I think because there's a noise from downstairs or something like that, so he starts coming around, and he's actually up at one point and looking around, but Rule's in the other room, and she manages to get out before he can like see her, and she makes her escape, so she lives to fight another day. Again, I'm not quite sure what Glory's intentions were, but obviously Rule managed to escape, and there's like the ending's a bit open because we go back to like her house with her mother and sister, and a door opens, and the mother, she's obviously waiting around, she's on alert, turns, and she's like, Rule, and we cut to credits. So we don't actually know if it was Rule or not who came through the door, but yeah, man, such a tense episode, so emotional at times, and the standout episode of the season, without a doubt. There was some exciting direction, some unpredictability, some good plotting. It, as I said, it was really the sort of Maddie stuff which was the down point. But overall, a very strong episode. Now I'm sort of worried they'll just go back to some of the normal BS next week, but fingers crossed they might keep this trend up. It's certainly a reminder what this show can do when they cut out some of the nonsense, some of like the artsy fartsy nonsense, and some of like the forced sort of soap opera melodrama. I was relieved we didn't see Nate in this episode, but yeah, good episode, strong stuff pretty much all the way through. So let me know your thoughts on this episode of Euphoria in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. What have you thought about this season so far in comparison with season 1? And you can also share me out on social media, help get my channel out to more eyeballs. If you want to offer some monetary support, you can support me at patreon.com/boardnow. That's as little as $1 a month, and you get some extra perks, like you'll get like movie commentaries, also X-Files commentaries. I've started doing commentaries on that show on there, so as little as $1 a month if you want to support the channel just a little bit. It's patreon.com/boardnow. But thanks for listening. I'll be back with more Euphoria next week. Goodbye.